Welcome to The Good Pod, where today we're talking Elsbeth Season 2, Episode 6, Gold, Frankincense, and Murder. I am one of your hosts, Jason Reed. With me, as always, the one, the only, Marissa Garza. Marissa, you good?
Jason, I am good. Are you good?
I'm great. Listen, we had a little bit of a Thanksgiving holiday break, but
Yeah.
we're back ready to dissect the Elsbeth situation here. So listen, I missed Elsbeth for the week. Yeah, I gotten so used to seeing Elsbeth and talking to you about it. I missed it for the week we were gone.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've been talking about like wanting the show to do more, and I think having a week off gave me a chance to appreciate the show that we have. So
For sure.
I was excited to have it come back. And as they allude in this episode, like Christmas and Elsbeth like go very well together. So it was great to see like a Christmas episode this week.
Yeah, I mean, typically Elspeth is all, she's always filled with holiday cheer, like even
Yeah.
when it's not Christmas. With this one, she was kind of like, she was less holiday cheery because of all things going on around her. So that was interesting, but to see a little bit of a different side from Elspeth. Even the Elspeth that is, downtrodden is still a pretty peppy Elspeth.
Yes. Agreed. During this break, Jason, did you happen to check your Spotify app?
I did go on the old Spotify app. I did.
And for those of you who don't podcast, I mean, pretty much everyone podcasts these days, but on the Spotify for Creators app, there's a nice little like Spotify wrap for the creators. And I just want to thank everyone who put us in their top rankings or their top listenings of the year. It's a very small population, but thank you. Thank you very much
Yeah,
for listening.
Listen, our Elsbeth / Good Wife rewatch
We're
family
here
out
for
there.
yes.
We are small but mighty. So yeah, we
Yes.
do appreciate everyone that has listened to us. So we got all of our like little stats. We got all of our like where people listen from, what other things people are listening to as they're listening to us as well. We're up there with the office ladies apparently.
Yes.
That's what a lot of you listen to while also listening to us. So we really appreciate everyone that took the time to listen and all that good stuff. So we appreciate you as you may appreciate us. I don't know.
Yes. So thank you very much.
Before we dive too deep into the Elsbeth of it all, we want to remind you guys how you can help our small, our small business podcast here that we got going on. The best way to help us is to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you can. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a written review, which we would really appreciate. We really, really love those. But if you want to just leave us a rating, that's fine too. If you leave us 5 stars on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening to, that would be very, very welcome. Very great. If you're watching us on YouTube, first of all, I'll wave to you. Hello. But if you just hit the little thumbs up down there, that's a great way to get people listening and watching because it will push us to other algorithms where people say, hey, they might like something like this. Other people like this. So let's give it to them. So we really appreciate it if you would support us in those ways. And if you want to chop it up with us about Elsbeth or even The Good Wife, you can also email us at thegoodpodfeedback@gmail.com.
Yes, thank you, Jason, and thank you, everyone. Without further ado, shall we do this?
Well, let's do this, the thing.
Sorry, everyone. That's going to be a thing throughout this entire episode. This was an alliteration or alliteration dream for a lot of people. We were introduced to Dirk and DeeDee Dashers, the Christmas curators. I really do think that this is a real job. Do you think this is a real job?
Yeah, I mean, in this world of social media creators and just content creators and influencers, I'm sure that people make their living off of one niche thing, like a Christmas, a year-round Christmas content person. I'm sure exists out there.
And I think this is something we've seen in the show, but also in Only Murders in the Building. There was like a Christmas influencer as well. So if you're a Christmas influencer out there, your time is now. Like, strike while the iron is hot. People are talking about you. What were your first impressions? Yeah.
Well, my first impression was like I didn't really understand what this was in the beginning because there are a lot of moving parts in this. So I was just like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we doing this? But I understood it. At some point, it was just like, yeah, your content creators that your content is all Christmas. Like, there's nothing else but Christmas here. And as someone that I work in the retail industry, and as I go into these retail stores, Christmas is just creeping up every year, sooner and sooner. You see the Christmas decorations, you see the Christmas lights. It was Halloween barely got any run this year in the retail
Yeah,
establishments where they're
for
just like,
real.
as they start like, well, Halloween has like a good week to 2 weeks, and it's just like the seasonal department gets smaller, and the divide between Halloween and Christmas just gets smaller and smaller every year. And poor Thanksgiving, like Thanksgiving gets nothing. It's just
It's
like,
like the middle child.
yeah, like we don't know that you exist, you're a thing, but Christmas is all what it's all about. So I don't doubt out there there's like so after Christmas you will get like, what do you do with your Christmas decorations? How do you store them? Like we have storage options for you. Like it's so funny how Christmas every year takes up more and more of the spotlight every year.
Yeah, agreed. We are introduced to Dirk and DeeDee through like a, I don't know, like a infomercial opening or like a home
Yeah.
HGG TV network type of situation, and everything looks hunky dory. They're so happy. They're like the most cute Christmas couple. They're playing up the roles of Santa and Mrs. Claus, and then the camera's cut, and DeeDee's like, "I want a divorce. I'm done with you,
Yeah.
Dirk, and I'm done with Christmas." Like, okay, so they aren't so happy as they let the world seem.
Yeah, I mean it's important to note that Dee Dee Dasher is played by Vanessa Bayer. It
Yes.
is That's our big guest star of the week. Known for SNL. She's done other things, but I think SNL is her huge credit. That's where most people know her from. I think she was very perfectly cast in this role here. I think if we were more of a big budget operation, I think that Dirk Dashers, it would have been perfect if it was Zach Galifianakis. Like he just seems like
Yes. Yeah.
he would crush this role if he was
Yeah.
Dirk. But that's not the world we live. That's not the Elsbeth world we live. We can only afford one one really big guest star per episode, and that's Vanessa Bayer here. As she does. I think one of her strengths on SNL was that kind of like chipper like housewife in these like digital shorts where there was something more sinister like on
Yeah.
the like under the surface. So I think this is really where she shines here.
Yeah, it was so good to see her. And like you said, perfectly cast. And she does not want to be married to Dirk anymore. She's done with Christmas, which I think is more painful to Dirk than wanting a divorce. Because he's like, we'll talk about it later. We can talk about the divorce in the new year. Like, let's just get through this. And Dee Dee's like, okay, fine. I have to go work on our little Christmas display at Dress Up Magazine. I'm going to go out. And I do like that Dirk says, well, yeah, let's just get through that. And then we'll do what happy couples do or unhappy couples do and survive the holidays. So,
For real. I mean, listen, it's kind of what all couples do. Even unhappy couples. It's like speaking
yeah.
for me, I'm just like, all right, like holidays especially when you have when you have a spouse, significant other, like holidays and different families is something for everyone to get through. I don't care who you are, but I definitely related with that. Like, let's just get through the holidays and we'll take it from there. Holidays is a special time of year for everyone, whether it be good or bad.
Agreed. Agreed. And Dirk has this like huge Christmas like workshop where he makes custom decorations for people, and he has his own collection of nutcrackers. So he's talking to his nutcracker. Well, he devises his plan to become a widower because he's like, listen, this could make me a lot of money. If DeeDee dies, people are going to want to buy everything from Dirk because she's dead. And I'm
People love a good
so
widow.
sad, so
Yeah.
sad, so sad. So he devises this plan to basically like hotwire. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but like make it so that she's electrocuted when she flips the switch at the tree lighting ceremony. So
Yeah, and
that we're
this
all
really
like led to believe that it's like DeeDee is gonna go, right?
yeah, I was like, this is weird because usually our big guest star is the murderer, not the murdered. So just like, huh, interesting. Maybe this is a big twist. Maybe we will get like Vanessa Bayer's only here for a little while, and we'll get or maybe she'll. I think it'll be interesting if like we had a murdered person, and then we got them through some other avenue through the episode. Like maybe there was like some video
Yeah,
diaries
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Like I think that'll be an interesting way for them to go through this. But as we'll find out, it's not exactly what we're thinking in the moment.
Yeah, I was like, it can't be DeeDee. It's Vanessa
Yeah.
Bayer. Like, what's going
Didi's
on here?
Didi's the famous one. She can't die
Yeah,
yet.
she
Like
can't
this
die.
Dirk's not
What?
famous. We don't know the actor who plays Dirk. We don't know who this
Sorry,
guy is.
Dirk.
Sorry, actor who plays Dirk. We didn't even look up your name. It's just like when Didi's the one we know, she can't go yet. So we all are at home thinking like there's gotta be something else that's coming. Gotta be some twist.
Yes, yeah. So cut to the tree lighting ceremony at Dress Up, and this is just another way that the Elizabeth universe is coming together because we see Gisela Mott, who we met in the first season. Her sunglasses saved the day at Fashion Week last year, so it was cool to see her there. There is a tree lighting ceremony. Everybody's dressed up to the nines. Dirk is very nervous, like he's
Yeah,
like
but
super
listen, that
nervous.
that episode of the Fashion Week thing has really paid a lot of dividends. Like we keep coming back to that episode. Like we get Laura Benanti back, we get that other dress designer back earlier this season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, this is really paying dividends. That one episode is really spinning out a lot.
Dirk's super nervous. He wants to make sure that DeeDee is the one that flips the switch. She flips the switch and nothing happens. And
He's like,
so he's like, huh, what's going on? To which then DeeDee's like, hey, look, there's a light that's out on the tree. And Dirk's like, oh my gosh, I can't have this. I have to climb the tree. So he climbs the tree. And lo and behold, there's a frayed wire and Dirk dies. He falls off of a ladder onto a reindeer and gets basically
yeah,
impaled by a
nails
reindeer.
himself. Like when they're bringing the body out, you just see this huge like thing under the sheet. You're like, oh wow, it's probably very very graphic, and of course you can't see that on our CBS prime time. But I'm sure that if this was like a HBO or a show, we would see all the gory details.
For
But yeah,
sure.
that was funny, and as at this point we're like, huh, there's a bulb out. Dee Dee's the one that pointed it out.
Yeah.
And us knowing our show like we know our show, I think at this point we're like, okay, that's how we're twisting this up. I appreciated the twist that we've seen because we talked about a lot. Like we wish there was some kind of difference in formula, right? Because as we have watched
Yeah.
Elsbeth since season one, we know how most of the episodes go. So I thought it was very interesting and fun for us to see like a different twist where we were led to think one thing up to a certain point, and they're like, "Oh, DeeDee flipped the script. Interesting." So I think that was a great. If it wasn't for the guest star that we know
Yeah.
and love, we would have been really surprised if it went this way. I think a lot of us saw this coming, but I appreciate that they're switching it up.
Yeah, agreed. I think the only like hint that we had before all of this was the fact that when DeeDee did leave to go work on the display before the tree lighting ceremony, she like walked out of there super happy after just telling Dirk that she like hates Christmas. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, something is going on here, but I didn't like it. It didn't scream to me that like this is what was going on, and so I liked how they switched it up for sure.
Yeah.
So Elsbeth arrives on the scene. Of course, this is like her wonderland. It's all a bunch of different colors. It's all sparkly. She's loving it all. She's like, this is the most beautiful crime scene I've ever seen. So she's there. And also, the detective on this case is who I call Third Watch Detective or Detective Third Watch.
Uh-huh.
But also, Fire Marshal Lee Sparks is on the case again because everything is fire adjacent and he's still got a thing for Elsbeth.
Well, this is a different guy. This is not the same guy from a few episodes ago. This is a
Are
different.
you
This is a different
sure?
person.
Are
Yeah,
you
I'm
sure?
sure.
I totally thought it
Yeah.
was the same guy.
No, this is a different guy.
Oh
This
my
is
gosh,
a
different
different
guy.
gentleman.
Okay, so
Lee
gentleman
Sparks.
Lee Sparks.
Yeah, Lee Sparks is not our same guy from this. This guy, Lee Sparks, is a lot more low key than the other guy that came
That's
last
fair. That's
time.
fair. Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
do look alike, so I get where you got the confusion. But Lee Sparks is a
Yeah.
different guy. He was a lot, like I said, he was a lot more low key. He wasn't as like head over heels for Elsbeth, but you could tell he was like he had some interest in her. And as we'll see later on in the episode, where there's like firefighters
Yeah.
all around, they're just like as Elsbeth told us a few episodes ago, just firefighters have a thing for her. It's the red hair. Saying Lee Sparks is like the fire marshal guy or whatever. And as he says, like, because they're all just wondering, why are you here? There's no fire. He's like, well, everything's fire adjacent. So, he's the one that points out and calls out the fact that this switch was rigged so that whoever touched it should have been electrocuted.
Yeah, he spots that, and he also like said, did he say something about the lights? No, just about the switch, right?
Yeah, I think
I don't
I
know.
don't think he's saying anything about
Yeah.
lights. I think it was just a switch. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But DeeDee is like, hey, those lights aren't ours because in the beginning of this episode, they are also revealing their new line of Christmas lights. And she's like, these are not our lights. Our lights would never fray. They determined that it was a frayed wire that killed Dirk, but there was also this switch thing that was going on. So
Well,
people are
it
confused.
wasn't necessarily a frayed wire that killed Dirk. It was the fact because Dirk was just trying to reach the thing.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
no, are
It
you
was,
right? No,
he
yeah,
got
he
a
got
little
electrocuted
zap
and then fell. Yeah,
and
he
then
got a
he
zap,
fell.
then fell.
Yeah.
Yes. So they did say, yeah, the fact that he touched the lights is what electrocuted him and caused him to fall. So maybe it was Lee Sparks that came out. Sorry, folks. Yes, we did. We watched the episode. It's just
What? We're
sometimes,
like 1 week off, like it
yeah,
really gets us.
gotta get back in our groove. And sometimes these Elsbeth things aren't as simple as they seem to be. But yeah, he did get electrocuted, fell down. Lee Sparks was like, hey, I think that's what initially shocked him and made him fall.
Yeah, but then also this is at play. What happened here? And everyone's like, well, DeeDee didn't die, so something is wrong.
Yeah,
But DeeDee
I'm just like,
is making yeah.
but the whole thing about Elsbeth, right, is that she's supposed to be there on homicides. So I was like, why exactly are you here, Elsbeth? Because this really does seem to be a accident.
Yeah. I mean, that is just I think the show taking its privilege where it can.
Yeah, it was weird, but I was like, all right, I'll excuse it. And maybe it's just like Elsbeth was in the precinct, and someone was like, hey, there was an accidental death at a Christmas tree thing, and she's like, Christmas?
Ooh,
Let's go
Christmas.
there. I know it's not technically a homicide, but I want to go there anyways. Maybe that's why Elsbeth was there. I don't know.
DeeDee is really making a huge deal here before she leaves the scene. She's like, I am sad. She's very
I'm so sad.
I am very sad.
Believe
The
me.
next scene we see is Kaya, Elsbeth, and Detective Third Watch going to interview now Today. Her real name
Mhm.
is Today. It is not DeeDee. They go and talk to Today, who is like, well, I can't have any Christmas around because it reminds me of Dirk. So everything Christmas has to go. And we as the audience know, like, she's doing this because she doesn't like Christmas. We find out that Dirk's parents wanted him to join the family business, kind of like hinting that there could have been a motive from the family, but that's not going to go anywhere. She, of course, Today, of course, is saying how she's always supported her husband. We are introduced to Dasher's little helpers around the
Mhm.
workshop and how everyone loved Dirk. Like this is very sad for Dasher's little helpers. And they interview one of the helpers by the name of Graydon,
Mhm.
who doesn't understand why someone would want to kill Dirk. And I think everyone here is like trying to put something on a relationship between Grayson and Dirk that
This was
is not
so
there.
this was so weird, right? Because it felt like from the very beginning, they were the characterization of Dirk and the way that Dirk was
Yes.
acting. I think they were trying to make us think a certain thing, which as I watch this, like, okay, isn't this a little outdated? Is this a little like not not 2024 of us to think because someone is flamboyant, right? Or someone
Right.
acts a certain way, likes certain things that
Right.
oh, they must be part of the LGBT community like that. They can't be totally straight. So and then I thought in the beginning I was like maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm thinking with some terrible glasses on, but no. They tried to really lead us to
They
think one
really
thing.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Cuz
more than
cuz we
one
have all
time,
these
like
yeah, because we have all these handsome assistant dashers, and then like
strong.
strong men, and all the thing is like, oh yeah, Dirk really liked hanging out with the dashers. He really loved all these people, all these strapping young men. He loved hanging out with them. He would spend the whole night in the workshop with the dashers. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, and then as we get more into it, there'll be more things of like, oh, we thought this, but it's actually this. So they really tried to lead us to a certain place, and then yank it away from us.
Yeah, for sure. Because in after this interview, Elspeth realizes that there's a turtle dove in the workshop, and as we know, turtle doves, there's always two. Like, there's
Yeah.
never just one turtle dove. So she's like, oh no, where's this other turtle dove? And then Detective Third Watch is like, well, it's pretty obvious. If he's working late nights, he's working out all the time, he's hanging out with the Dashers. Like, he must have been
Mhm.
having an affair. It's the same thing. She says, like, it's the same thing my husband did, or
She's
my
like,
ex
they
husband
must
did.
be in he's like, they must be in the workshop tinkering or whatever. Like it's just like, or something else, who knows?
And this conversation happens back at the station. There's a bunch of Santa Clauses because there's SantaCon. It's a lot of mayhem, and in the middle of all this mayhem, Kaya drops a bomb on Elsbeth, basically, and also honestly on the audience as well. I felt a little taken aback. I did not expect for this to be happening so soon, but she tells Elsbeth
Yeah.
that she's moving out, and the
This
renovation
was
is done. I like already.
this was so bizarre because usually when you have a plot line like this, you milk it for all it's worth, right? We
Right.
would have multiple episodes of, classic roommate troubles, classic roommate tropes, but we had one episode of roommate drama, and then it's just over. It just makes me think, like, what was that for? There was no point in that whatsoever. It came and
Yeah.
went, and I'm like, what's next? In 2 episodes, are we gonna find out that Kaya is graduating, and we got no real drama or consequence from this whole school thing for Kaya?
Well, later in the episode, she does tell Elspeth, "I aced all my exams," and I'm like, "How?
Yeah,
When did you do this? I don't,
like
I
why?
don't understand this timeline. What's going on?"
Why are we just blowing past these drama moments where we should be luxuriating in them, seeing Kaya and Elspeth spend some roommate time together, maybe seeing Kaya
Yeah,
have some struggles with school, but nope, everything's fine. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just hope we don't come to an episode where, like, well, Kaya's graduating, that's it. Like, I want that Kaya episode where we're like in Kaya's school, a murder has
yeah,
gone down, we
yeah.
got to figure out something, the case, and figure out what Kaya's been doing in school. It's kind of just like a nothing burger of a plot line. This whole roommate thing is what it kind of
Well,
turned
and
out
they
to be.
put like all of the drama onto Elspeth because this is like a mood shifter for her. Like she
Yeah,
automatically is like, "Oh, I'm going to be alone for Christmas. I thought you were going to be around." And then she's like, "I guess this is what happens when you uproot your whole life." And I'm just like, we didn't even like get any development of her dealing with that in the 2 seasons that we've been with Elsbeth. There hasn't been a lot of homesicky talk, right? Like,
yeah,
there hasn't been a lot of that. There's been a like I miss my son, but there hasn't been a lot of like, oh, I'm lonely, I'm gonna be alone. And this one piece of news, and all of a sudden she's like, this is what happens when you uproot your life, and I have no friends, and everyone's busy, and this is
yeah.
how it's gonna be. And I'm saying like that is a reality. Like I understand that feeling. At the same time, it just kind of like wasn't developed enough for me at that moment. It was just like a switch that had turned, as opposed to like you're saying, an opportunity to like develop this a little bit further on her side as well.
Yeah, because we also find out like that Teddy is going to be spending the holidays with his father. So like
Yeah.
maybe the dad lives in Chicago and Teddy could have come visited his mother and father if she was in Chicago. Like maybe that's the thing that got her bummed out about not being in Chicago. But yeah, it's just kind of like this we because we find out she's not gonna be able to spend time with Kaya because Kaya is going to be on a cruise with her family
Yeah.
for the Christmas holiday. I'm just like, we really think like that would be kind of fun. Like that would be like to do away with the stress of
Yeah.
Christmas, like especially if everyone's kind of grown, right? Because when you have kids, Christmas is like the big thing, but like when you're an adult, Christmas is just like kind of just another day a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But to be
Yeah.
able to spend time with the family doing something funner, maybe a thing. Maybe it really got me thinking. But yeah, so Elsbeth, she finds all this out. So basically, she's going to be alone for Christmas. So that really kind of darkens her mood for this episode because she's going to be alone on Christmas. But yeah, that's kind of how she's approaching the whole thing.
Yeah, and then this is like where the show becomes like a little bit of a Hallmark Christmas movie because Wagner walks in and is like, "Hey, why aren't you answering my texts? Like, I need help getting a gift for Claudia." And we're like out of nowhere, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, what's
we
going
just
on?"
see all these we see all these pictures of Wagner trying out things for his wife. He's like at different department stores, and it really is like it's like when did Wagner and Elsbeth start having this kind of relationship? It's just like
Right? Right?
okay,
Like,
cool.
you're not answering my texts is a pretty intimate conversation or like
Yeah, it's just
relationship.
kind of a switch up of the dynamic, which I guess is in this going into the second season of a show, I guess makes more sense. But Wagner spent most of the first season mad at Elsbeth, and now
Yeah.
like 5 episodes in, we're just like, "Hey, buddy, I was trying to text you to figure out what I want to get for my wife because you're." So I didn't like. I was just like, "Well, you're Elsbeth, so you know everything, so you should know what I should get my wife." I was like, "Okay, like she's great at solving murders. I don't know, if she's great at gift giving."
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just a couple episodes, we saw him not want to like invite her for poker as well, like
Mhm.
trying to keep some distance. But then after he has this conversation, he goes over to Kaya and is like, "Hey, is everything okay with Elsbeth?" And this was my holiday like romantic comedy moment because Kaya's like, "No, she's not. Like Teddy's not going to be able to visit her, and I'm not going to be home for Christmas. She's going to be alone." And Wagner's like, "Oh, that's not good." And I'm like, "Oh, you're going to totally Santa Claus this moment. I don't know with what, but like you're totally going to come in and you're going to save the day." Because he's like, that's not good.
It's
Like,
like I can see in our future Wagner dressed as like Santa Claus or something, but
yeah,
that's not what we got. But it's just like, is that
yeah,
what's gonna happen here? What is gonna happen at the end of this? Because as we talked about, like this is kind of a weird role for Wagner to play at this point. But it's just kind of like, yeah, we have to do a Christmas miracle for Elsbeth.
yeah, yeah. I was like, okay. Laird, who is, I totally forgot how to say her name. Gisella.
Gisela,
Gisela,
yeah.
yeah. Gisela Mott's assistant comes in, tells everyone that Gisela has fired him because he, I forget why, but he is fired.
Well, because it was weird because Gisela wanted to flip the switch to turn on the lights.
Right,
But
right. That's,
this is where Laird tells us that when she wanted to, Dirk yelled at her, literally yelled at her, and told
right.
her that she wasn't allowed to do it. And for some reason, she blamed Laird for that, so she fired Laird. It didn't make any sense, but it was a way for them to really just kind of put information into our face. It's like hey, like into our face and into our heroes' faces. Like hey, this is
Yes.
a clue. Like listen up.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of that, like Elsbeth is like, I don't know why people like Christmas lights. Like, bah humbug. Like, I
Yeah.
am not liking it. But then she's like, but it is kind of weird that
Yeah,
this
she
is
gets
going
back
on.
she gets back into her Elsbeth bag. She's like, oh, now she's starting to think it's the whole Elsbeth thing where she's getting clues out of nowhere. Because when we were at the dress up thing, she did look at DeeDee and was like, or sorry, DeeDee, and it was just like, hmm. Like so already Elsbeth was already sniffing that something wasn't right because, you know, Elsbeth is Elsbeth. Because so she's already on today's case, already figured something was wrong. So this is now giving her even more of a like, it's like a dog with a bone, like Elsbeth
Yeah.
is sniffing around. She's like, something is off, something's weird here.
Which leads to the line of the episode, did Dirk want Dede dead?
Today to
It really
dead.
did. Well, and I just want to make a short note about the whole name change thing. I think this episode shows really how easy it is to call people the names that they want to be called. That's all I'm going to say. This woman goes from DeeDee to Today back to DeeDee, and everyone in the episode is fine with it. Nobody says, like, why is your name like this? Nobody says, I'm going to call you DeeDee
No,
because I know you like DeeDee. So, like, if they can do it for this fictional character, people can do it in real lives for people who may
Marissa,
have to change their names. That's
Marissa,
all I'm saying.
is there something you would like me
Trans
to
rights.
call you?
Trans rights.
Oh, okay. I was like, where are we going with this? Like, are you like, is there something I'm missing, Marissa? Like, is there something you want me to call you? Like,
No, no,
is this
not me.
subtle?
I'm
Are
just
you
saying,
subtweeting me in person? I was like, am I missing something? What does Marissa want me to call her?
I just was making the fact, like the point that, like, if it can happen in this fictional
Okay.
situation, it's pretty easy to happen in your real life
I was,
outside of this fictional TV show.
I was very confused. I was like, is Marissa
No,
dropping
I'm
hints at me?
not. No,
Like,
I would have
am
no.
I not be calling Marissa? Did I miss something when
I
she
have
said one
really
day?
always wanted like a nickname that never really got
Like,
a
I want you to.
nickname, but
Did I miss a moment where you were like, Jason, call me Marie, and like from now on? And I totally missed it, and I was just like, is she mad? Like, you call her Marissa? Should I not be calling her
no,
Marissa?
no. It does remind me of like in Spanish class. Like, did you take a foreign language in high school and you had
Yeah,
to
I
change?
did. What was I? Was I No, it wasn't Romeo, was it? It was something.
Oh,
I forgot what it was. But yeah, I did have a Spanish in Spanish class name. I forgot what it was, but this was in like middle school, so I don't remember anything about that. But what did you have one? Did you take
I
Spanish?
did.
Were you a
I
cheater
did.
because you already knew?
No. So the thing about me is I can understand Spanish really well, but I cannot
You can't speak
speak
it
it back
like
out.
right. Yep.
So my name was Marisol.
Okay, yeah, well, it wasn't Romeo. It was something with an R though. I forgot
And
what it was.
but like I was so offended because I'm like, I shouldn't have to change my name. My name, like I am here. I am I am the people. Well, at least half of me is the people. So,
You're like,
but they like,
Miss Teacher, my last
excuse
name is
me,
Garza. I'm not sure if
Senora.
you're aware
Yeah.
of that.
Like,
Yeah.
do you know about this?
Like I'm good. Like I got it covered halfway at least.
Okay. Sorry
Marissa
about that
should be my
tangent.
name.
Yeah, exactly. That's what my grandma calls me. Like I can handle it. It's fine. Anyway, okay, so thanks for my little tangent on trans rights and how you can call people what they want to be called and nobody is hurt. And they show like a really good, like in this moment when Wagner comes in and Wagner calls today DeeDee and everyone's like, no, it's today. And it's just like a moment. Like it's not
Mhm.
like he doesn't like make a big thing. So, if for some reason you
Well,
had to explain to people how this
well, you
works,
know,
this is a good episode to like show
I
people.
yeah, I mean, not to get too deep into it, but I think that whole issue is not about, oh, I've got to remember a name. It's a lot more deep seated than that.
Yes,
But
I know.
not to,
I know.
we're not gonna get into that whole thing here.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the podcast for that.
No. I just wanted to point it out as like a
Yeah, I got you.
pop culture example of like if you needed to talk to like maybe someone older than you about how this works, this might be a good example.
We should have had this pre Thanksgiving. Like,
Yes.
if you need
Yes.
to have an awkward Thanksgiving conversation, this is how you deal with that. But in all
So it works.
fairness, today was only the day for less than a day,
A
right?
day.
Like,
Yes. Yeah.
today was the day for like 12 hours.
Yeah. So today goes and visits the manager, their manager, both Today's and Dirk's. His name is Kidder, and we know him from Scandal. Yeah?
Yeah, Dan Bukatinsky from Scandal. So yeah, I was like, oh, I know that guy. Like, it was
Yeah.
one of those Leo point moments. Like, hey, I know him. So I mean, and
Same.
he is like, he's probably too famous for this role because this role didn't
Yes,
really
I
turn
was
out
like,
to
what
be
is he
much.
doing him here?
So
I was like, oh my god, did he kill somebody?
yeah, I was thinking of like, is he today's accomplice? Like, is he going to turn out to be a bigger part of this? But no, Dan Bukatinsky just needed like a job for like
He
for
needed
like
a
a few
paycheck.
days.
Yep.
He needed a paycheck. He
Yeah.
was like, I'll come do it. Sure.
Yeah. He is like not sad that Dirk is dead. He sees this as the capitalistic opportunity that it is to make a bunch of money the same way that Dirk did. A bunch of money off of, Today now being a widow and all of this things. But Today is there with her alternative mission to pitch her monochromatic home goods line. And it's like
Oh
printed
man.
out in like grayscale. Like it is
Yeah.
like really, really bad. Meanwhile, she's being pitched like basically like Stella got her groove back for Mrs. Claus. Like it was
Yes.
like that's the conversation that's happening at the table.
It's like, well,
And
yeah. I
then
mean, she wants this to be an opportunity she's been waiting for to get out of the Christmas space.
yes,
But
yes.
Kidder's like, no, we got to dive even deeper into Christmas. Like, you got to be there. Like you said, Mrs. Claus gets a groove back, which is hilarious. I can see the reality show right now. The Bachelor meets great. What do they call
Ooh.
those things? Like when they have the neighborhood competitions about whose light show is better. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
can
yeah,
see it
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, I can see the reality show mashup right now. Yeah, Mrs. Claus got her groove back. I think that'd be so funny. But yeah, he's basically telling today like, no, like you're not getting out of Christmas at all. She's just like,
Yeah.
okay, as a Vanessa Bayer character does. She's like, great, fantastic, and in
Yeah.
the inside, she's just like wants to just end her life. It's just like
I'm dying.
it's
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
So our team of investigators arrives and wants to talk to Kedler because they have found that like there were a bunch of phone calls between these people, like between the office and Dirk before Dirk's death. So they arrive and they encounter the assistant who's super sad.
Mhm.
Super sad. This is
Super
something,
sad. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that Elspeth was taking note of, but she doesn't like respond in her super duper empathetic way. Like she's not like, "Oh my gosh." She's just like, "Well, the new year's coming." Like, so she's still kind of like guarded based on what she's
yeah.
feeling.
She's got a little Christmas resentment going on.
Yeah. And today is like super like worried that they're there and just like, hey, just tell me if anything happened with my husband. I want to make sure that like the murderer is not out there during Christmas. Oh, and by the way, I'm back to DeeDee. So she has accepted her
Mhm.
fate as being Mrs. Claus for at least the foreseeable future. And the team comes in and questions Kidler about like who the conversations that were being had between Dirk and his office. And he's like, look, I got no idea. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know who this is. But would you like a snow globe made with your dead relative's ashes? Like,
Oh,
it was just
bruh.
like,
That was
whoa,
rough. That was rough.
whoa.
But it's they continued the kind of misconception about Dirk's
Yes.
sexuality here. They're like,
Yes.
so Kidder, you and Dirk, huh? Like you guys had a lot of phone calls going. He's like, wait, what? Like, no, like that's not hey me. Like he ain't talking to me. I don't know what you thought was going on. They're like, oh, because we just thought, he's calling your office a whole lot. You guys are talking for hours on end. He's like, yeah, my office, but not me. So it's just like,
Yes.
as
An
we're
evil
like,
eyes
we're all
Elsbeth.
yeah, we're all detectives, and we're just like, okay, the receptionist is really sad, like really sad,
Like
and he got a
really
lot of
sad.
phone calls to Kidder's office, but not Kidder. As like that meme where we're all putting the numbers together, the numbers are all floating in space. You're like, oh, receptionists. So like, okay, we're seeing where the pieces are fitting in, and then as you said, Elsbeth spies receptionist. And what does the receptionist have in her possession?
Two turtle doves.
Ooh, it's the
Oh, oh,
other
oh,
turtle. It's
oh,
the
oh,
missing
oh,
turtle dove.
oh.
Because, as you said, at the Dasher estate, there was one turtle dove, but where's the other? DeeDee didn't have it.
Oh,
Who
the
has
day
it?
did not have it. It was
The
Holly,
receptionist.
the
Holly.
receptionist.
Yeah.
Holly. And Holly travels with said bird to go talk to
Yeah.
the team about what's going on and tells us like, oh my gosh, Dirk was the best lover I ever had. He was so considerate, all of this stuff. But DeeDee hates Christmas.
Mhm.
And so we hate DeeDee. And I was like, okay. This is where they're like, well, someone has to tell DeeDee, like, this is what was going on. I wonder who could be the person that's going to have to tell her this because it has to be done with care. And everyone looks at Elsbeth. So
All eyes
Elsbeth
turned to our
takes
girl, Elspeth. Yeah.
takes DeeDee to or meets DeeDee at a bar filled with Santas, and like Elsbeth is in not the merriest of moods, and DeeDee is there with two different colored gloves on, and Elsbeth makes a comment that this is a bold choice for wearing these gloves. I was like, it's holiday, like
Yeah.
it's
I,
okay.
I this is gonna be a big deal later, but I was just like, I thought it was like just part of the holiday season. Like you wear
Yeah,
one red glove, one red green glove. I didn't think that was a big deal.
yeah,
But did you clock though the callback to a
yes,
previous episode?
sure
Well,
did.
yeah, because Ellsworth orders apple juice, but seedless apple juice because she didn't want any cyanide in her apple juice. I was like, oh my god, look at the callbacks to the earlier episode because as someone will recall, was it the episode before right before the break or the one I don't remember.
The one before, I think.
Yeah, that the case was about someone getting ingesting cyanide. We found out that apples have at least a little bit of cyanide. So I just thought it was great that we're calling back to that episode.
It was the Vanessa Williams episode where
Yes,
she
iced
used
episode. Yeah,
apple juice. Yeah, she was like, right? No cyanide, right? Like,
so good,
not
so
even
funny.
like so good. And so Elsbeth tells DeeDee, okay, and I'm gonna need your help here because again, as an
Okay.
Elsbeth, it's not like super clear, but this is what I took
Mhm.
from it, and I could have been reading it wrong. So Elsbeth tells DeeDee Dirk was trying to kill her. And DeeDee says, oh, why would I think, oh, it's because of what I thought she was saying. It's because Dirk found out about her and Kidder. But I don't know if that's true
No, no. I think
because
I
what do you think DeeDee was thinking about before
I
Elspeth
think
told her about the affair?
I think today got it on the nose that she thought Dirk wanted to kill her because she wanted out of the Christmas business. Like I think that's why she
Oh,
assumed
okay.
that Dirk wanted to
Okay.
kill her.
I was like,
I think she was
man, they were
yeah,
really
I think she was
unhappy. They
right
both
on
were
the
having
nose.
affairs.
No, I think she was right on the nose about the fact that she thought Dirk would want to kill her because she didn't want to do the Christmas stuff
That
anymore.
was me writing the show again. I was like, oh my gosh, she was
Yeah,
having some
you're
sort of affair.
you're coming with affairs that didn't exist.
Oh, I mean, it would have been good. Yeah, so she tells him that, and Elsbeth now walks away from that conversation saying, DeeDee, because she's DeeDee now, I think, calls or wants to kill Dirk. Like this is what happened. DeeDee wanted to kill her. We don't know why. We know why, because she wanted to leave the business, but we don't know how she did it 100% just yet. And Wagner's like, well, all I want for Christmas is a case closed.
Yeah. Wagner's like really bumming out my holiday vibe. It's like, okay. All right, Wagner.
Since when are you full of jolly and myrrh?
Right, exactly.
Elsbeth goes and visits Lee Sparks, the fire marshal, at work, where he is surrounded by firefighters. And I love this. I love this whole thing of firefighters being enamored with Elsbeth because of the hair. And they are like, cannot take their eyes off of her, like doing push-ups, flexing,
guys
doing the whole thing.
So funny. Like, oh my God.
But they're there to ask him to like take a look at the surveillance video of DeeDee flipping the switch and like what could have prevented her from basically being killed at this point. And he's like, well, it had to be not with regular gloves. Like it had to be something in the gloves. If she was wearing regular gloves, this wouldn't have happened this way. And then he says, people think they're safe until they're not. And that's usually when my phone rings. Speaking of phone numbers. Kaya's like, bye, gotta go.
Yeah, it's like he's low key trying to get Elsbeth's number. Like I said, he was a lot more. He wasn't as hyper as our last firefighter was, but he was trying to get into Elsbeth's phone at least.
For sure. Elsbeth and Kaya get home after visiting Lee on the job, and there's a Christmas tree, and this like freaks Elsbeth out. She's like, oh my gosh, who like came into my house? Somebody broke in. Gonzo? Where's Gonzo? What's going on? And Kaya's like, no, it was just me. Like, I know that like you're gonna be alone for Christmas. I didn't want you to miss out on the sparkliest of holidays. And I thought this was a really sweet moment where Kaya gave Elsbeth like her family decorations that she didn't want or need anymore. And so that way it's kind of bringing her into her bringing Elsbeth into Kaya's family.
Boy, we keep getting these little drops of Kaya's background and history.
Yeah.
If we don't meet Kaya's family at some point, what is this even for? Because as we talked about, like, what is the roommate stuff for? What is the school stuff for? So it's just like we gotta meet the mom, the dad. Because I didn't know there was a dad in the picture until
agreed.
Because I thought Kaya came from like a single parent background. It's like, oh no, dads work for UPS, and it's like, okay. So at some point, we need to meet Kaya's family for us to feel like we're getting the whole Kaya experience, I think.
Agreed. This is where she's like, we're going to call this a celebration tree because I aced all my exams. Again, don't know how, don't know when. Like literally an episode ago, you were studying for them. So I don't know.
We've seen you study one time, and we have like, that's all we've heard of this.
And this is when they discover how Christmas lights work. They're decorating the tree, and on some of the strands, when one light bulb is out, the entire strand is out. But on another strand of lights, if a light bulb is out, the strand continues. And I was like, how did you not talk about this before this moment? This is like Christmas decoration 101. Like, this is how to put up lights. But this is like the thing that gets Elsbeth to put everything all together enough for them to go back to dress up and basically like arrest DeeDee for the murder.
Elsbeth gets an idea, and we know this because the lights in her hand light up. This is literally her light bulb moment. It's just like they've done that a few times in this show where it's just like, I have an idea. Ding. I think they did it twice in this episode. They did it with Elsbeth, and they also did it with Dirk earlier in the episode when he had his idea. He had a light in his hand and light up. It's like, okay, hit us over the head with it, why don't you? Our character has an idea. So good. So funny.
It was funny. So Elsbeth meets with DeeDee Elsbeth and the team meet back up with DeeDee at Dress Up, and she presents DeeDee with some green cookies. These green cookies do not look green to me. They might look green to other people, but they do not look green to me. And
they were red. They
were red. Yes, they were red. Yeah. Elsbeth says like Dirk loved Holly, but knowing about the affair wasn't enough to kill DeeDee. He just wanted like the fact that she wanted to leave the business was though, like that's her motive, is that she wanted out of Christmas. And murder was a business decision. And she's meeting like every single thing. Like DeeDee's meeting every single one of Elsbeth's things with like, well, is that a crime? Like they say, we found these rubberized gloves and because Graydon found them in your closet. And she's like, well, I
Mhm.
protected myself from murder. Is that a crime? Like, what's going on? And then they talk about the lights, and Gisela, it was so funny. Gisela didn't want vintage lights, did you? And she like walks by, no, like
Yeah,
very.
no, which is like, if you this is your plot, right? To just this one lie is everything that unraveled everything. Because like, why would you have such a bad lie in this way? Be like, oh, Gisela told me she wanted these lights. That's so easy to go back and fact check. And
Right,
what
right.
happened here, where Gisela just walks in the frame, she's like, no, I didn't, and just like walks out of frame, which is so funny. So like that's the whole thing. Like, why would you make that lie the lie? Why didn't you just be like, you wanted vintage lights for some other reason? I don't know. Just come up with something more believable than like someone told me this exact thing, which is so easy for them to go back and be like, no, she didn't. Why would
Yeah,
you lie? So obviously you're
yeah,
hiding something. So what's up with that?
yeah. And then they talk about the lights, and this is where we get our first like callback reference to the good fight, I think, because
Oh,
they
interesting. I didn't clock this.
they,
So let me know what the
well, they talk about like, which brings us to the word of the day, shunts. And then there's a big title card that comes up and is like shunts. And this is something that the good fight does or would do all of the
Mhm.
time. If there was something that needed explaining or something like that, like they would force it in front of the audience so that they would know about
Yeah.
this, which I thought that this was a very funny like thing to talk about in that way. Cause like in the good fight, it was like white supremacy. Like it was like a much
Yes.
like larger topic than shunts and Christmas lights.
Yeah, if only they had made some funny animation to explain to us
Yes.
how the
Yeah.
stunts work, that would have been complete good fight territory.
Yes. Yeah. It was just like a little nod. And this is where they reference DeeDee's color blindness because they say, like, if you take a look at these lights, they're not in the same pattern as these other lights. It goes green, 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 as opposed to green, red, green. And so therefore you messed up the bulbs, you replaced the bulb in the wrong order. So you were up there. This is like in any Elsbeth thing, gets the criminal to basically confess in front of
Yeah.
everyone.
And, like, you know,
And that's
this
the
is a
end of
Scooby Doo moment.
DeeDee today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a Scooby Doo moment. Like, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you, stupid redhead. Like
Yeah.
it's like this is their moment where they're getting just like taken away by the cops. Where you know we used to have like such bigger set pieces for we used to set up the perp to like to do something crazy to prove that they were the perp. But now we just come and be like, hey, we know you did it, so we're going to arrest you now. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
bye.
It
Like
was
we used to have these
weird.
big set pieces of like we're going to get this person to prove it was them by doing this, this, and this. But now it's just like, hey, we found out what you did, so you're arrested.
Elspeth had an idea, and that was it.
And Wagner just shows up for whatever reason. Like, why do we need the captain here? Like, he just came out of nowhere because he wasn't there at the beginning. And he just like steps up. He's like, "That's right, I'm here too." It's like, why do we need you here?
Yeah. I guess we needed him here so that Elspeth could tell Wagner to get Claudia dance lessons, which is another
Yeah.
callback to another episode.
Yes.
But then they go home and Kaya's moving out. They're talking about how good the boxes are because of the Dashers using great
Hmm.
boxes. They're really great boxes. And Kaya's like, well, I did get you a moving out present, or we got you a moving out present, or an early Christmas present. At this point, did you know what it was?
I had no idea. I thought maybe it was just like a Christmas party at Elsbeth's house. Like they were throwing her a party in her own house. Because you do see Wagner coming. I'm like, oh, okay, we brought Wagner. Maybe some of the other detectives are here. We're going to have a nice Christmas party. Like I thought that was it.
I had suspicions that Teddy was going to show up, but then like they have kind of gaslit us in that situation for like they will like mention Teddy all of the time, but we never like see him. You know what I mean? So I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't know what to believe here. But then when there was a Santa behind Wagner, I was like, oh my gosh, could it be? It is. It's Teddy. Elsbeth gives him a hug. I actually teared up. I did. I was like, oh, look
Oh,
it. Elspeth is
okay.
so like, I don't know. it could be my own holiday spirit coming through in the situation. But she was like so happy and moved to like see her, and I'm just like, after, thank God we finally see this person after hearing about him for a season and a half.
I think would have been interesting if they had introduced us to Teddy, the actor who plays Teddy, beforehand, like maybe like a FaceTime call or something in an episode before,
Oh
because
yeah,
it kind of
yeah,
takes all the like, oh my god, out of it to be like, who is that? Oh, it's Teddy. Oh, okay, because we
yeah.
didn't know what Teddy looked like. I was like, oh, that's Teddy. Cool. Like that's great. This is a great moment. But I think of it like the reveal would have been so much better if we knew what Teddy looked like. And so we now have seen Teddy. Like this is a big moment in Elsbeth, right? Because we've heard about Teddy for so long, and now we have Teddy. He's here.
Well, which
We know what
makes
his
me
face looks like.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, we do. But like, okay, Teddy's here. What's going on with Teddy's dad? Why,
Mm.
like, is this going to bring the three of them together? Are we going to find out who the dad is in this situation?
Interesting.
I
I
don't
mean, I think
know. I don't
I
know.
would imagine taking a page out of your book, writing the show.
Write the
I would
show
say
for
like,
me.
Kaya and Wagner, they got together. It's like, all right, let's see if we can find Teddy. Like, I don't know how they found Teddy. I don't know if Teddy has some relationship with Kaya already, since Kaya is his mom's new best friend or whatever. And they just call Teddy, like, look, Teddy, I think you're supposed to spend the holidays with your daddy, but like, you're a full grown man. So I think you just tell your dad you're not coming this time. You're gonna spend time with mom. Like it's not like you and mom have a custody agreement or something that you have
I
to
know.
spend the
That was
holidays
a
with your
little
father.
weird.
Yeah, like,
It's
so why
like,
don't you just come
he's over
over to?
18.
Yeah, he's a full adult. We don't have to split holidays anymore. You can decide where you want to go.
Also, how many conversations have Wagner and Teddy had? Because there was this
Right, that's what I'm
whole
wondering.
like getting Teddy the job. Remember, there was
Oh,
like
that's true.
that
Yeah,
whole thing, and so I wonder how big of a character Teddy is going to be, if Teddy's going to stick around, like what Wagner has to say about it, because he basically was able to be like, "Hey, Teddy, hop on a plane. I'll pick you up at the airport. Like, here we go."
right. Yeah, so that's a good point, because it was the tennis episode, I think, when
Hmm.
Wagner really, when this is back when Wagner like was suspicious of Elsbeth looking into him and wanted to get Elsbeth's son a job to have something to hang over Elsbeth's head. Like, so that was
Yeah,
back then. So yeah, Wagner and Teddy do have some sort of pre-existing relationship, as tenuous as it may be. So maybe he does at least have Teddy's number. She's like, "Hey Teddy,
yeah,
come to New York and spend some quality time with your mom, okay? Like she really needs it." So that was my Wagner. Like, was that
that
good
was
enough?
good.
Was that good window pierce?
Yeah,
Hey
yeah.
Teddy, come on to New York. Let's spend time with your mama, okay? Come on over. So I guess that was the conversation. I don't know, but it was enough to get Teddy here to New York, because his mom is bummed out because she's going to spend Christmas alone. So maybe Teddy spoke with his dad, like, look, Dad, like, I'm not going to be there, okay? Like, I'm sure you got another wife, you probably got some other kids or something you can spend time with. I'm going to go spend time with my mom this holiday season. So I'm I wonder what next episode will look like, because doing a little bit of digging, I did find out that
Yeah.
next episode will be Michael Emerson's premiere episode. And I think we're
That's why
also
I was
probably,
wondering.
yeah, well, that's not going to be his dad. Like, this is going to be some
Are
other
you
guy.
sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, I think. But so I think we're going to get some more Teddy next episode, I would imagine, because this can't be this 2-second cameo can't be the only thing we're going to get. So I would
Right.
imagine that next episode will take place shortly after this episode, maybe even in the same time frame. Maybe we get a direct, like, maybe we spend a little bit more Christmas time with Elsa, because it is weird that we got this Christmas episode, what, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so before Christmas. So maybe we'll still get some more Christmassy stuff next episode. I would imagine we'll see a little more Teddy next episode. We didn't only see like his face, so I'm like, I don't really know what this guy looks like, because I just saw his face, this big like Santa Claus get up. So who knows what next episode will bring?
Well, we will find out
We
because
will.
we'll be here.
We will be here to talk about it. So yeah, that was Elsbeth. That was our main Christmas episode. Who knows what next episode will bring, but that was our Christmassy holiday Elsbeth episode.
Yes.
Marissa, you want to tell the good
Yeah.
people where they can find you online and what you're up to these days?
Oh, good people. You can find me on Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky. Basically, the places at it's me, Marissa G. I am I started a book club. If you're interested in reading about Palestine specifically, you can come to my book club. Links are in the places where links live. I guess I could say bio here. There's no algorithm. And then, did you know about that? Like, you can't, like, if you say link in bio, then the algorithm is like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, go over there.
Wow.
So that's why I've been saying, like, link in the places where the links are. You can always see what I'm up to besides hanging out here with you, Jason.
Yeah, as far as I go, you can still find me on Twitter at JAYR1085. I'm still in the deep fires of hellscape, but you can also find me on the blue ski, on aka the blue sky, at JR33D. As far as podcasting goes, I will always be here, of course, as we talk about Elsbeth, and also make sure to check out our Good Wife rewatch coverage as we do that as well alongside of Elsbeth. On the Rob Has a Podcast Network, on the Love at First Sight feed. You can find podcasts talking about the show Married at First Sight with Asia Welch called A Perfect Match. So check that out too if that is your jam. Yeah, and that's it for me. That's it for Marissa. So until next week, stay good.